Let me add me. I'll add me. I'll add Justin. Here we are. As you know, I'm getting used to this. I'm getting used to this new platform. I mean, it's fantastic. It really is great to have this this platform to use. But of course, as with any platform, it takes a while to learn. I'm sure anybody using Breezeway, Justin, is going to find that there's a little bit of a learning curve too, but we'll come to that. But welcome. Thank you so much for joining me.
Yes, no, it's nice to be here. And as you can tell by my background, I'm typically on Zoom where I can change my background with the green screen. So, but I guess it matches my safety logo on today with the shirt, so we'll go that way.
Yeah, no, it looks perfect. It looks perfect. I do like the background that you have in one of your videos, which is the Breezeway Lab. That is very, very neat.
It's nice to feel at home sometimes and feel like I'm still working in the office, even though I'm not. I have other ones too. I have one where a deck's about to collapse behind me, but that one doesn't always catch people the right way.
Yeah. Oh, well, we are absolutely fine with the green screen. So, as I say, thanks for joining me. Tell us a little bit, I gave a little bit of an introduction. That's off the bio that, I found online and used and the information you've sent to me. And of course, you've been on the podcast before talking about vacation rental safety. So I just want to hear from you just a little bit about how you got from where you were to where you are now.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I served in the U.S. Coast Guard. A little different than your Canadian Coast Guard up there, Heather. I don't even think the Canadian Coast Guard has guns, but we had guns on the U.S. side. But we did boating safety inspections off the west coast of the United States, and my job was going on board fishing boats and checking fire extinguishers and alarms and all that type of stuff. And it's interesting how that bred nicely into later when I got into the vacation rental industry. Actually, I started out as a boat rental guy. I rented boats, which, a lot of people who've gotten started in the vacation rental industry either start out by running their own home or they were real estate brokers and say, this is what it is. But I was actually renting boats to people who had vacation homes and finally said, you know what, I think I can do that too. And was a property manager for a number of years, co-founded one of the largest vacation rental companies in the Northeast and grew that. And at the same time, used my experience in the Coast Guard to become a firefighter. So I think it's a unique experience in that I've combined safety inspections that led into property management and then being a firefighter for 15 years and a training officer that's put me where I am today.
Well, I know from what I'm seeing you posting on the Facebook group on the business of short-term rentals and property management, that you have such a strong focus on vacation rentals and safety in particular. So in this session, I really want to go through some of the issues that we all face as property owners and managers. And I think that this is probably not new to you, this concept that this is a weird year.
Yes.
This is a very weird year. But what we're seeing is up here in Ontario, and I know it's not the same for everybody, because I know people they're still suffering, particularly in the US and now in parts of Europe again with shutdowns. But up here in Ontario, we're experiencing a massive demand. It's staycations, everybody's staying home. So what that's bringing with it is a surge in people who've never rented before. Yes. And this is causing us some issues, because we've always been used to our cottage renters or cottage guests who know what it's about. They understand how to light a barbecue, what to do with a campfire, how to put a campfire out, how to keep safe, and we do supply them with information. But we now have all these new people some of whom have never lit a barbecue in their lives.
Right.
And many who have never had a campfire or roasted a s'more or something like that. So that's definitely being a big issue for us. We've always been very conscious of safety, but we are seeing incidents happening now because people are unfamiliar, not just with a new property, but they're unfamiliar with the whole concept of staying like this. So just give me your broad overview to kick off with on how you see this year and rentals? Is it different?
Yeah, I mean, certainly this year's different, especially with the type of accidents we're having. What's probably been the most interesting thing is safety's always been there. It's been a problem. People who are in the short-term rental industry hate it when I say this. It's a true fact. It just accept it. Let's fix it. But short-term rentals are the most dangerous form of hospitality and travel in the world. More accidents happen in short-term rentals than all the commercial airlines, all the trains, all the cruise ships, all the hotels combined. And we can fix that. It's a solvable problem. The perception that people have is that a short-term rental, because it's being rented in most cases either by a professional or through Airbnb or Vrbo or any of those type of outfits, that there's some sort of regulation, organization, everything that's in place to make sure that they're going to be safe, just like in a hotel. I just went out and got Starbucks this morning. When I went in a Starbucks coffee, I go in there, there's a fire extinguisher mounted on the wall, there's an emergency exit light. When we apply ourselves in a commercial setting in this world, there's commercial regulations in place to ensure our safety. But short-term rentals don't have that. And less than 1% of all short-term rentals in North America are under some sort of safety guidelines that would protect people from most of the type of accidents. But what's different this year is obviously safety. I've been grabbing onto CNN. Those who are Fox News lovers, I'm sorry, but they posted out there that the new word in travel, the new sexy word in travel is safety. And of course, they're tying that into COVID-19. I think it's a misuse of the word completely, because safety applies to what it always has applied to, which is everything that's going to keep you from getting injured or hurt in the property. You're not injured or hurt because you're sick from COVID. And frankly, I still have yet to hear, and I'd love to hear of a case where someone can prove that they've actually gotten sick in a short-term rental from COVID. So we're doing a good job cleaning them, and cleaning focus is there. And at Breezeway, we put together an amazing cleaning checklist that I know a lot of people are using and have talked about in your group. But when it comes to safety this year, people, I think, are misunderstanding what safe is, and we've got to address that.
Yeah, so what I wanted to talk to you about is separate out some of these issues. You've been doing a fantastic job on the Facebook group posting an issue per week. I'm just wondering when you're going to run out.
Yeah, wish I could.
But we've looked at, you've looked at fire extinguishers, pool and tub safety, decks, grills, campfires, gas fires, CO alarms. So I want to go through all of those. There's some issues in particular that are, that have been, some incidents that have been fatal, that we've heard of over the last few months, and really talk about what owners and managers can do to prevent these things from happening. And I'd just like to kick off with one that really struck me, and that this is pool safety.
Yeah.
Because you posted the story of Levi Hughes, who was 3 years old and drowned in June 2018 at a vacation rental. And I heard the story on on a number of news channels, and I watched it over again yesterday while I was sort of planning for doing this session. And it just really, really struck me that it was seconds. It was just, mom lost sight of her toddler for a couple of seconds. And this was a toddler who'd been told about never going in the water and other things. And the toddler just disappeared. And the next thing, 5 minutes later, she's seeing her son go to hospital in an ambulance. And as she said so movingly, never bringing my son home from vacation. And that was just heartbreaking. So you posted in the group, and then you talked about Water Guardians. So I'd like you to just talk about that a little bit and what we can all do.
It's a great program. I don't have a swimming pool at my house, Heather, and I have a 10-year-old daughter. I sometimes stay in short-term rentals when I'm traveling for work. I stayed in North Carolina 2 years ago. I showed up with my 10-year-old daughter at the pool. I'll be honest with you, I'm the safety guy, and it was very easy to become complacent. I don't know much about pools. I don't know much about safety. I just assumed when I showed up at this rental property that everything's set up the way it's supposed to be. And I have half a background in this. And you think about how many people are coming to stay at these pools. They don't know that. When they go stay at a hotel pool, there's all kinds of safety warnings. There's a camera watching all these things. And I just think that they don't understand what they're supposed to do. And this Water Guardian program is pretty amazing. It highlights a couple of different things. Levi did drown in just a few seconds, and a lot of it had to do with you just couldn't see him. People were right there. People were all around the pool when it happened. It highlights two issues. One, who's in charge, and that's what the badge that they have that they offer. And it's really great because as a vacation rental agency or just as a sole proprietorship, if you're just renting out one Airbnb, you can donate some money and get these Water Guardian cards, and you can have your logo applied on it. They just apply, you put the person in charge who's watching the pool, puts that around their wrist, and they know that they're watching the pool. That's their job right now. They're not going to be sipping a margarita. They're not going to run in and go to the bathroom. They are in charge of watching the pool. So that's very important, and I think it's a great program that every short-term rental program should put in place if they have pools. Number two are pool toys. And a lot of insurance companies now, I know Proper Insurance is one of them, won't allow homeowners to supply pool toys to the renters. If they want to bring them, that's fine, but don't supply them because it ends up covering the pool up. And a lot of these pools aren't that big. And suddenly you can't see through the toys and you don't know that someone's drowning underneath it. So that's kind of a twofold to what happened there with Levi. And the stories go on and on. Bo Dermer, U.S. Olympic skier, he lost his daughter 2 years ago. His 3-year-old daughter drowned in a vacation rental pool. And it wasn't even the pool at the house they were staying at. The daughter ran next door to a pool that didn't have a fence. So there's a lot of big cases out there that highlight this.
Yeah, there's a property manager in UK called the company's called Tots to Travel, TotsToTravel.co.uk, and I interviewed the owner way back. I mean, this is going to be episode number 349, I think. I interviewed her back in, I think it was episode 11. I don't listen to that one often, but she started her company exactly because she nearly lost her child in a pool accident. She saw him at the bottom of the pool and was able to get him out and resuscitate him. And from there, she started Tots to Travel, which is a company that specializes in properties that are truly child friendly. So all pools have enclosures, they have lockable gates, etc. But I'm going to definitely be passing this the Levi's Legacy card idea onto her because I don't think she may have come across that. Yep. So let me tell you about. I mean, you know that I run a property management company. We've got 160 properties, all on open water. So we can't have gates. You don't put fences around docks. I mean, you are familiar with waterfront properties. What can we do? What can we do as owners of open waterfront properties?
Yeah, I started back when I had my property management company as early as 2007. I was going onto a website called buildasign.com and ordering signs and putting them up down by the waterfront. Signs are a difficult balance. I know a lot of people go, geez, now I'm commercializing the property and added in. I've highlighted less than about 10 notices that should be up at an average rental property. So we're not talking about putting signs up everywhere, but one needs to be down by the waterfront that says children should have a life jacket on, should be supervised. If it's too shallow to dive in off the dock, there should be a warning sign that says no diving. All those symbols are free online. You can just find any of those symbols. But you need to have some warning notices down there. You need to have some information that's out there so the guests understand that. Because we just did have an accident in Michigan where someone dove in and was injured off of a dock. It was only 3 feet deep. No signs. So it's really important to highlight that. People they just don't know. They turn off their brains when they go on vacation, which is what we want them to do. We want them to have a good time. But signage is the first approach with that.
Yes, because you go to a public beach and there's often a lifeguard. There's definitely signs. There's flags that say when it's safer to swim and not safe to swim. And these are in many waterfront locations, the water can be difficult to manage. Even if there aren't any rip tides, but they can be difficult to manage. So I like that idea of signage.
Signs also help reinforce it for the parents, and this is something that's really important. I can tell you as a parent, this speaks a lot. When you say, "Hey, son, you've got to put on your life jacket here; it's required," and they don't see a sign or anything that says it, they don't believe the parent, and so there's an argument. But when you've got a sign there and the parent can point up and go, "Look, they say you have to wear a life jacket if you're on the dock. That's what the rules are." There's some sort of affirmation to that. So it helps the parents or those supervisors of the children when you've got that there too, to help ensure that they're doing what they're supposed to do.
Yeah. Same with hot tubs too, because I know I've got a 6-year-old and 8-year-old granddaughters, and they love nothing more than to spend half an hour in a hot tub. We probably shouldn't allow that, but they enjoy that, and it's a once every couple of months type of thing. So, but it really is important. We often hear this, people have gone to a property, there's a hot tub, the kids have never seen one before. They treat it like a wading pool, but in fact they are deep.
They're deep, and there's so many issues with hot tubs out there. It's you'd be surprised how many hot tubs actually catch on fire every year with electrical issues. So I mean, that aside, also dealing with suction issues where the intake for the jet pumps has drowned some children. We've seen a lot of issues. Used to see it a lot more in the Smoky Mountain area, Tennessee area of the United States, where people were falling out of hot tubs that were up on elevated decks because the hot tubs were up against the railing. The kids are on the bench seat, and now they don't have 36 inches of clearance. A lot of companies have done a really good job. I know Steve Milo with his company, I was really impressed. They went out and put guardrails in around on the decks to keep the kids from doing that. Hot tub covers, they shouldn't be able to open a cover if you're under the age of 7 or 8. It should be somewhat difficult. Locks are great, but if there's some sort of strap, something that makes it difficult for a child. And then, of course, water treatment's another big one. I see a lot of programs where people are treating their own water. I love the state of Montana. My friend Kirsten King up there with Big Sky Rentals, those guys have to change their water after every single rental. It's state law in Montana, and there's a reason for that. And it's a difficult process, but they've learned how to manage and do that. And so you should be having a professional who's managing the chemicals in there, because like you said, some of these kids are in there a while, and we don't know what they're doing in there, what they're spilling in there, what's coming out of them, and how it's being treated properly. And, we've seen some instances like in North Carolina last year with Legionnaire's disease. So any of those type of things are an issue. And even inside the house too, with the jacuzzis or the spas that might be inside of a property, I like to make sure that at least at a minimum, the cleaners are running some bleach and cold water through those in a filled tub once in a while, just to get the bacteria out of those, because those have caused some issues for people.
Okay. Anything other than thank you. I'm sorry we don't see a name on StreamYard. It just says Facebook user, but thanks for that question. So anything else with indoor jacuzzis?
They should be inspected by an electrician or as part of a home inspection. And at Breezeway, we advocate that you have a home inspection every 5 years at your short-term rental and before it enters the short-term rental program. And those are things that are going to be caught and checked in that, because and then the bottom line is, whether you're in Canada or in the US, you want to check the Consumer Product Safety Commission websites to see if there's recalls or issues. There's a lot of recalls and issues out there related to hot tubs and jacuzzis right now that go back into 2005, 2003, with current models that need some addressing.
Okay, that's a really good point. That's a good point. And I don't actually have a rental at the moment, but we always had hot tubs in all our rentals, and I don't think we ever looked at recalls. But certainly that's something that I'll be sharing with my owners in the coming week or so.
Someone in your team, I always used to like to give it to a reservationist. There should be somebody at your company, and we probably don't have time to get into it today. It's a separate topic. Maybe I'll post about. But every rental agency, if you're a rental agency, needs to have a safety coordinator, and monthly needs to be going on to the Consumer Product Safety Commission website and looking at recalls and balancing that out, going, oh, wait a minute, we have 2 of those dressers, in our rentals, or we have a TV like that in a couple of our rental properties, and it could explode because of, electrical short or something. So you need to pay attention to that stuff.
That is such good advice. I'd never even thought about that. So yes, please post something on that.
Well, I'll make
okay, let's move on to decks, because there was an incident in Virginia just recently, and I'll just post that. 5 injured after deck collapses in Virginia Beach, and I think you posted this. I went on and had a look at it, and that was scary.
You can see it right there. Look up there at the ledger board that's under the word injured after. That's the ledger board where it's attached to the property. And it's still attached to the building, and the deck is down. And if you look under the word V in Virginia Beach, you'll see the posts are still standing. Those posts didn't collapse. The deck pulled away from the ledger board because it was attached with nails. That's against international building code. I am sure that there is a lawsuit that's in the works on this case right now. And that photo right there is the only evidence they need to show that this deck was not built to international building code standards. And this was a professional rental company that was managing this property. So they got a real problem on their hands there. I'm going to make everyone here a deck inspector in 3 seconds. If a deck is not attached to the ledger board with bolts or lag screws, it is not safe. It needs to be addressed right away. Get a contractor over there to address it. Nails should only be used to hold the decking down. That's it. Never to attach it to the side of the house.
Wow. I know, as I go out and look at new properties, potential new properties, and we have a checklist of safety checklist. We're making sure there are fire extinguishers, which we'll come on to in a second, CO monitors. We look at decks for height of railings and space between the posts. I have never looked to see how that deck is attached to the house. So yes, I am. Oh, now I'm a new deck inspector. But that definitely is something to add, because we every one of our properties, so I'd say 90% of our properties has a deck, and we looked at one. In fact, after you posted about this, we actually went through a lot of our photographs, and we found one property with a boathouse, with a deck on the boathouse. I'll send this photo to you afterwards, Justin. I'm not going to share it here, but it caused an immediate, oh my goodness, we've got to get in touch with the owner. We've got to take that boathouse out, or at least make sure nobody can get out on that deck, because it was that was definitely an accident waiting to happen. At
the same time this accident happened, Heather, another one happened in Saratoga, New York. It didn't get quite as much press. It was at a VRBO rental property, or advertised property in VRBO. It wasn't professionally managed. But right now, my data shows that in the United States this year, over 200 people have been injured at short-term rentals and deck collapses. And it's just unacceptable. It's preventable. There's no reason for it. And if you're going out on a deck and it's bouncy and it's not feeling solid, the bottom line is about decks, and this is really the other thing to remember, other than the bolts and lags holding them up. A deck shouldn't bounce, and also a deck can hold a large load. It's not about that there were too many people on there. You can build a deck that can hold 100 people or 5 people and be a well-built deck. So it wasn't about how many people were on there. It was the construction method that was used.
That really is interesting to note, because that gives us, I guess, more of the power, as you say, deck inspectors, to go and have a look and know that maybe the deck looks great, but perhaps there are aspects of it that need addressing. So yeah, that's fantastic information. Scary though, scary that looks like a new property.
The deck collapse that made international news in New Jersey last September, it was the lead story in every nightly news in the US and Canada, was the one that happened in Wildwood, where it was all firefighters staying there. These were firefighters that had been staying in this short-term rental for years. there was an engine company on the third deck, a truck company on the second deck, and all the chiefs were down on the lower deck, and all of that came down. It is a painful, the broken bones and the injuries that come along with that. It's not a comfortable thing for anybody to go through and experience. And a lot of people will have lifelong disabilities because of some of those injuries that they sustain.
Yeah, well, that's there was a note there saying that is really good advice, and I'll just second that. You know, I hope those of you listening to this are taking copious notes. I've already got the notes, so don't need to do that. So, anything else you want to say about decks before, docs perhaps before we move on? I think one thing that we do every year is we check docs and decks for boards with maybe protruding nails or evidence of any rot on them.
Yep. The big one that's out there is the handrails going down. Handrails have to be to code now. You've got to have a handrail on at least one side of the deck going down the deck stairs, and it has to be continuous. The renter shouldn't have to lift their hand because there's a post halfway down. They have to hold that down. And I'll tell you what I'm hearing from the insurance companies, number one claims that are coming through. I heard of a deck railing fall just about 2 or 3 months ago. It's a $300,000 claim minimum. And your insurance company is not going to cover all of that, and they're not going to cover it if you didn't have the railing in place. I know a woman who's trying to sue her insurance company for not paying a claim, but she didn't have the handrails per International Building Code, and it was on her insurance application that her house met International Building Code. So she's not going to win that claim, and that's the end of her short-term rental business. So the big one I will add are the handrails. It's the number one place where people are going to slip and fall and get injured on a deck is going down the stairs.
Yeah, and I just like to make this point about being sued because we are currently participants in a lawsuit, a frivolous one, but it's a lawsuit nonetheless, and it's tough to go through, even if you have the best cover in the world. But you need that cover. You need that liability cover, and you also need to check to make sure every property that you take on is meeting your local. I mean, for us, it's provincial and federal codes. So you need to know those codes. I mean, we knew.
It's the same in Canada or the U.S. It's International Building Code. Every state and province in the United States has adopted it, as well as Canada. And in every lawsuit that I'm seeing right now, that's what they refer to. They say this person was a professional. They're advertising this property on Airbnb. They're advertising this as what it was. They were negligent, and they used the word negligent over and over and over because they were not adhering to International Building Code standards. That's what shows up in the civil lawsuits.
Yeah. And, if a homeowner is sued, the property management company will get sued as well.
It's a big party. Everybody joins in.
Oh, yes. In ours, it's the homeowner, it's us, it's the cleaner, it was the maintenance person, it was the builder.
And even if you had nothing to do with it, even if you never stepped foot on that property, even if you had nothing to do with it, and I'll tell you, I was sued when I was a property manager. I don't think you're doing your business well unless you've gotten sued at least once, Heather. I'll tell you, I mean, just for the fact that I sneezed on the property, I had to pay $60,000 to get out of the lawsuit. So it's not cheap to get over these darn things.
Yeah. Yes, I've talked about ours in many other places, and if anybody wants to hear about it, they can contact me directly. Okay, that's a good segue actually into, because you were talking about International Building Code. Let's talk about International Building Code 906. Which is fire extinguishers.
Yes. The Tamarack fire settlement came through this spring. Jim Olin is somebody who people recognize the name in the industry. He's done a lot of consulting now with lawyers when some of these accidents happen. There's the grill fire.
That's the grill fire. Yes, we'll come back to that one.
But he was directly involved with that lawsuit and gave me a lot of information. I got to see it. I was actually asked to be an expert witness on that one. That fire happened for a million different reasons, but the reason the fire was not put out was because they had to use bowls of water to try and put the fire out. All the neighbors heard an explosion. They didn't see fire at the property for about 7 or 8 minutes. During that 7 to 8 minutes, They're like, huh, wonder what that boom was before they saw fire. What was going on was the one person who was there couldn't find the fire extinguisher, and he's dumping bowls of water trying to save his wife and children and friends and didn't. And everything in that lawsuit all refers to International Building Code standard, fire extinguishers are required. They have to be in a bracket. They have to be in a bracket. I see it over and over. People stick them under the sinks. That's fine. If you want to put it under the sink, put it in a bracket, but it has to be mounted so that when the renters are reaching in for dishwashing detergent, they're not knocking it over. It has to be clearly marked that it's in there. That's building code standard. So sign on the front. You can have your own little logo and poofy purple letters or whatever letters you want to do so it's subtle. It doesn't have to be some big obnoxious sticker, but it has to say and be aware that the fire extinguisher is in there and that it's there, and they have to be within 30 feet of any cooking appliance in your short-term rental. They should be near fireplaces, and they should be on every level of the home. It's really simple and easy. You got to do it, and if you don't and there's an issue, trust me, it's going to be a business ender for you. It has for others.
Yeah, just going back to the Tamarack fire, I remember seeing this in the group, and it was a propane fireplace that exploded, right? That's
right. Yeah, it had been converted to wood. The previous homeowner got crafty and decided he'd help out because he knew how to turn a wrench. He pulled out the gas fireplace insert, disconnected the gas line, and when the wood fireplace insert guy showed up and said, "Is this all set?" He said, "Oh yeah, I've got it all taken care of." So, and then he sold the house, and nobody ever knew that the gas line was still active and connected. And so the renters found a house cleaner because there were no instructions. This was another big thing that came out. It goes back to my signage. There was no instructions in that property to tell people how to use the fireplace. You've got to provide instructions at every fireplace, every stove, every fire pit, so that renters understand whether it's wood burning or gas, how it operates, what to do, how to extinguish it, when to extinguish it, how to open flues, how to close flues. And so they went over to the rental office and said, "Hey, we can't get this thing working." And the house cleaner said, "I think I know where there's a key for that." She had no business saying that, but she did. And so they got a key and turned the gas on. And of course, that led to the explosion.
Wow, that's it's such a sobering story because there were a number of fatalities in that one, and it could have been prevented with a fire extinguisher
easily, or just even instructions. They thought it was a gas fireplace. If it had said it was a wood burning fireplace, that would have changed everything.
Yeah. Okay, so I think I mentioned on the Facebook group about going to see a property, and I always look for the fire extinguisher. I want to know where it is and how it's mounted. And she had it still in the box, in the closet. And I said, "Okay, great, you have a fire extinguisher, but that has to go on the wall. It has to be mounted." And she absolutely refused. And she said, "That's going to make my place look ugly."
Yep.
And I think this is something that you've heard before.
You hear it every time with the safety certification program we're doing here at Breezeway. There's a couple tough things on there. You've got to make sure you focus on some egress and grill spacing. It is shocking to me that the number one issue that we've had to have people go back and fix is the fire extinguisher. To me, that's like the easiest thing. It's easier than a smoke detector. People, I think, believe. And then this could go into a whole deeper subject, but it's almost like the whole mask thing, whether you're wearing a mask or not, and you're losing your rights by doing it. I think people believe by putting a fire extinguisher out that they've stepped into that line, that they are now a commercial outfit, and they've kind of lost the comforts of home. And they just need to get over that and understand it. And you just share with them a couple of the tragedies and the lawsuits that have happened. Hopefully that'll change their mind. Put them on with me. I'll have a talk with them.
Let's move on to still on the topic of grills, grill fires. We have 160 properties with 160 barbecues. Fortunately, that they are all outside, but we do have some that are, I have seen in enclosed spaces. So, let's just talk about. I put this photo up earlier on. Let's just talk about this. The condo in Lake of the Ozarks that went up. What happened there?
Yeah, let me see if I can, because if I can share my screen too, I can show you exactly what happened there. And it's happened actually yesterday at another short-term rental fire as well. Let me put this over on my screen and see if I can share. So I'm going to show, I don't know if you're seeing this, but there's an image right here of a gas tank valve. Can you see that, Heather?
Yes, I can. Yeah.
Right in there is a rubber O-ring. The rubber O-ring is that black ring on the inside. They crack, they split, they fall out, but that's where the gas connection's made on the tank. You've got to check those. And that's where a lot of these fires have been happening recently, is that there ends up being a gas leak there, and the fire will start there. The gas will creep up to the gas cylinder and start. And that's what actually happened with the Lake of the Ozarks fire, where the gas grill was out there. And of course, there's a lot of different issues that happen with that. First and foremost, if you want to bring that back up, I'll point this out real quick. Look where the grill fire is. It's under an enclosed roof. International Building Code standards, gas grills need to have at least 9 feet of overhead clearance. Those roofs aren't even quite 9 feet. So the grill should never have been up there. A lot of localities, it's illegal to have a grill up on a deck. I have already seen some notes that's happening in the Lake of the Ozarks where they're going to now put that regulation into place after this fire. But that seems to be the way it goes around the world. As soon as it happens, they go, whoops, let's not do that again. And you can see other grills that are up there on the decks. So first, the grill shouldn't have been up there to begin with. Should have been an electric grill if you're going to have it up in a situation like that. But 2, renters need to be aware of, if they're going to do propane tank changes, they need to know about the O-rings. And if you're providing the tanks, you need to inspect the O-rings as well. It's real easy.
Never thought about that one.
Yeah.
Yes. So that inspection, is that something that you do? How often do you do that?
Every time you change out a propane tank, you check the O-ring.
Okay.
Every time. Yeah. It's
okay.
It's more important than, I mean, we all go back to driver's ed. Remember they told us you do the walk around of the car every time you drive, which none of us ever do anymore. But, you know, check the brake lights and check the brakes and the steering. This one's more important than that. This is one that you don't get complacent with. Always check the O-rings.
Okay, good advice. Let's just move on to CO monitors, because that, you know, again, that's something that we check. We have on our checklist to check that there is a CO monitor, but that's all we're doing is just, okay, there is one. We had an incident recently where there was an alarm went off, and the fire department came out, and they could not pinpoint where this was coming from, but the guests had to evacuate while it was being investigated. And then it turns out, you know, the CO monitor was out of date, and there had been an incident in the past with this CO monitor giving a false reading. So we have learned from that, but I think every property manager has been through something like this, and each time you learn, but
it shouldn't take a long time to learn this. The most important, and I'll touch on this one quick and come back to CO, the most important item in a short-term rental is a smoke detector. It's the most important item. It's more important. You can go sleep on a hardwood floor and not have water to take a shower, but that building could burn that night, regardless of any of those things. And could you imagine a surgeon not knowing what his tools are and you're going in for surgery? It's frightening that we as property managers in this industry don't know about the most important tool that goes into our property. And the CO detector I would highlight is the second most important one. You need to know about them. There's educational videos on YouTube. They're 10 minutes long. You need to know what the difference is between photoelectric and the ionization type. And when it comes to CO detectors, you need to understand that there's a different beep that goes off when it's expired versus it doesn't. And I'm super passionate about what's going on with CO detectors because we keep having incidents. Everyone knows about the Anna Faris one in last Thanksgiving and at Tahoe. They keep happening. We just had one in Idaho recently, 25 people all hospitalized. And the thing that kills me the most, and this should be a call to action for every property manager, is that when these happen, all the morning talk shows talk about it, and they all do a special piece on this, and every single one of them says, when you travel to a vacation rental now, you should bring a carbon monoxide detector with you because you can't trust the property manager of the house to do it. Could you imagine, Heather, if before you went on a cruise, the cruise ship company told you need to bring your own life jacket. I mean, that's ridiculous. We need to get out there and address it. And I'm sorry I get upset about this one, but it really is ridiculous that they're telling people they need to bring their own CO detectors to the rentals. And we need to be more passionate and understanding about what those two important tools are.
I think the sad thing is, Justin, is that safety is not seen as you know, it's not as fun as decorating and putting in all the great furniture and the nice appliances, and it really comes as, you know, an add-on. Oh yeah, we need a fire extinguisher.
Yep, and everyone I talked to has had an incident, had told me that. And even when the incident goes perfectly right, I had a woman who's done all of our safety certifications, and her property is probably a model property. And guess what? It had a fire, got struck by lightning, and the guests got out. Everything went great. But even after all that happened, she said it's almost shut her office down just because of everything that you've got to go through and dealing with a fire at one of your properties, the owner losing certain things, the guests losing all their luggage, insurance claims. She has 3 people in her office, and it was a full-time job for 2 weeks just dealing with insurance people. So everyone reacts when it's suddenly in front of them. And let me tell you, it's going to happen. I don't know of too many companies that don't have at least 100 properties that haven't had a safety incident. It will happen, and you got to be prepared for it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we've been in business for 17 years, and we've had I wouldn't say more than our fair share, but we have had a fair share of incidents. And you know, they are decks, they're docks, they're fires. We haven't had a deck collapse, fortunately, but we've had a child fall through, you know, one of those glass panels on a deck because it wasn't attached properly. So it's amazing. You know, there's just so much in there that you have to be conscious of. So that sort of leads me on to talking about Breezeway and your role there. What do you actually do? What's your title, first of all?
I'm the director of safety and certification programs, and I'll highlight the word certification. Breezeway's really been focused, as you know, on property care and operations. We're a leader in property care and operations software. And our founder and CEO, Jeremy Gall, has just really had some great visions. I'm excited to be working for him and the visions that he has on trying to make sure that we're supporting the industry, not just on the software side, but on the application of what can be done with the software. And with that, obviously, we've built what we consider to be one of the best cleaning checklists out there. And I know a lot of people in your group have talked about and shared that. And on the safety side, he's recognized that, and we've pushed that forward now with safety certifications. There's 3 components to it. One, we're working with insurance companies. Proper Insurance is one of them. And we actually give a discount, or Proper Insurance gives a discount on their insurance premium if you go through and get your property safety certified by Breezeway. It's less than $69 a year. There's a little bit of a discount if you're a Proper Insurance customer. And in some cases, people are saving $400 or $500 on their insurance premium. So it's well worth it on that path. If you just want to get a safety certification, we're all working with some municipalities now as well and helping them do them. And the bottom line is municipalities and government entities in the US and Canada don't have the resources to do these safety inspections, or if they are, they're doing fire. And fire is 3% of accidents. Slips and falls are 83%. So they don't even know. And as a firefighter, I didn't know. I didn't know anything about extension cords, tripping over carpets, any of that stuff. And so we're stepping in there and covering all the things with our safety certification program. And then the third thing that we're doing, and we've just launched it and we're really excited, is we've introduced the STRSI program, or Short-Term Rental Safety Inspector. And you're going to hear a lot more about this going forward. Up until now, all you could have done is hired a home inspector to come. We do everything now through the Short-Term Rental Safety Inspector program that a home inspector doesn't do. And we're certifying property managers to do this with a short course. Takes less than 10 hours. We're looking at kind of 5 hours for the course. You're now certified, and you can go out and know what you need to do to inspect, and you can generate revenue for your company doing those inspections as you're doing these checking for short-term rental safety.
That's great, and I will put I'll put links to Breezeway and everything you've talked about on the show notes for those of you listening to the podcast on Facebook, for those of you who are live here and on YouTube as well. This is such fun. You press the button and it goes out to Facebook, it goes out to YouTube, and then I'm recording this for the podcast as well. So we're trying to hit as large an audience as possible. And having last time I talked to you, I became more of a passionate advocate for safety in vacation rentals up here.
I love you. We need more advocates. It will sell. When I was a property manager, I was also very passionate about safety, and it was really interesting. And I challenge some of the people who are co-hosts or property managers out here looking to acquire properties. Bring up safety when you're looking at a property. I actually would sign on homes at a higher commission rate because a homeowner would come back to me and go, we liked you, we liked your pitch, your commission was high, but the other agency, they didn't even talk about safety. They didn't go through and examine our home. They just said it's great and they were going to sign it on. And the fact that you guys cared a lot about the home and seemed to be looking out for you, we're going to sign on with you. And I will tell you, it works. I promise you it works. And I have people that tell me that they followed that and it works. It's a great way to increase your revenue. Safety can help in a lot of different ways with revenue and with marketing. Renters will choose a home that is safer than another when given a 3-bedroom next to a 3-bedroom, both on the water, both have, nice furnishings. That one's $1,200 a week. That one's $1,200 a week. Oh, wait, look, this one has gone through a whole safety program and is certified on a safety level. Let's take the one that's a little safer.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm hearing this from owners as I'm talking to them right now. Walking around and saying, I'm not sure that your deck railings look up to code, but I'm not sure about your stairs. Let's check into that. And they're going, wow. And these are people who perhaps just bought a property. And this is something else we're seeing. We're seeing a lot of new owners in our country areas because they've been locked up in the city and now they want to get out, and now more of them working from home. It's a whole new world of owners. It's a whole new world of guests. So I'm finding that just coming up, as you said, with those suggestions to them about safety issues, that they are very grateful for that because it's not something that's even crossed their radar at all.
Yeah, you're looking out for them. You're protecting them, and they like that. They like that care. Yeah.
Hey, Justin, it's been fantastic as ever talking with you. Thanks so much for joining me again. And I will make sure that, information on Breezeway is on all these different channels. So if anybody's interested in finding out a little bit more, I do want to talk to you outside of here, because I'm thinking, here we are in Ontario. I don't know any program that there is up here in Canada. So I want to talk to you about that.
We're going to get you set up. Next time I come on here with you, I'm going to have you in your hat that says you're a safety inspector certified.
The thing is, I don't go and see every property. Our properties, we've got one property that, and I mentioned this one to you before, I think you drive 3 hours to the local town, then it's 15 minutes down a dirt road after that, then you get in a boat and it's a 20-minute boat ride. And there you are with no cell signal, no Wi-Fi.
Oh, even better.
But there is a landline. There's a landline.
How's the fishing?
Fishing is fabulous. Fishing is pretty darn good. But you. Oh, okay. Well, we will. I don't know when we'll get to see each other face to face again, but this is face to face as much as we can possibly do right now. So thanks again. Just hold on a second. I'm just going to sign out of here, and then we'll have a chat at the end. Okay.
Sounds good.
Okay, that was fantastic. Thank you so much to Justin for joining me. And we will be posting this on Facebook, it's on YouTube, and it will be going out on the podcast. So I hope you've enjoyed this. I hope you've really taken a lot of notes, and you are really now thinking about what you're going to be doing about increasing safety in your properties. So from me, thank you so much for watching. Always a pleasure to be with you and have such a great guest. So goodbye for now.